We are back with another simulator session, and today I've got a lot of things to work on. Now, I've been in contact with some awesome coffee pros that have been really gracious in their help towards me, so I've been sending some people videos and getting feedback. The first one is a good friend of mine named Parket Brandt. He's the head pro at a golf course in the US called Apogee down in Florida, and he's someone I actually went to school with. I've known him since I was about 5 years old. And so sent him some videos, and he sent back a specific response. Then I talked to a pro here in Portugal who's played on some different tours out in Europe named Tiago Rodrigues, and I talked with him and showed him my swing, and he gave me the same bit of advice. I also have been talking with my friend Michael Feuerstein out in San Diego, who is also a pro, and is someone that I'm going to be going on a trip with soon to get some sweet footage up in Sweden. And we've got the same advice kind of all around. So I'm going to break down what that advice is, what's been affecting my swing, the issues in my swing, and how this fix not only is going to help me, but I think will be a huge help for a lot of you watching today. I think it's a very common issue in a lot of people's golf swings. So let's get right into it. Now, when I first sent my swing, immediately my friend Parker's response was a video showing me wrists, was simply getting my hands through the ball. Now, the reason this is such a big change is because it will affect everything in my swing. It's essentially a fundamental rerouting of my swing, which is a scary thing to do. But he, as well as Tiago, have helped me kind of baby step my way to this. So we're going to talk about those things today. But to go over what was wrong in my swing and how this is going to fix all of it. So in my normal swing, if you watched my other video, what I was doing is I would set it to the ball well. My backswing was actually quite well. I would come back, keep my elbow on my side. I had the face closed. I came back nice and straight. I'd continue up all the way to the top where my shoulders were square. Essentially, whenever you're hitting a golf ball, you want to have about 45 degrees in your hips, 90 degrees in your shoulder, and you want this club almost parallel if it's an iron. So then on that first bit of the downswing, I would start with my left hip, which is also good. I would come tracking down, but this is where everything would fall to pieces. I would immediately start releasing my wrists, as you see right here. And by the time I was hitting the ball, my wrists were already fully released, okay? Now, in my mind, this is something I've always thought would give extra power. You have your hips for power, you have your shoulders for power, you have your arms for power, and I was thinking you need your wrists for power. So, whereas ideally you would want something like this, if I break my wrists early, that means my shaft is back here, which means my face is closed, and it also means I'm going to swing and either hit the toe or hit the down. This little section right here is essentially where I'm going to be hitting the ball. This is going to cause a lot of like toe hooks, which means it'll go out and skirt to the left, or it's going to cause shanks, toe shanks even. And so there are a lot of issues with that right off the bat, even if I hit it pure. Now, in addition to that, what it was also making me do is when I came through and would break early, is there was nowhere else in my swing to go but up really high, and I would point the club downwards. So at the end of the follow-through, my club was pointing at the ground. Now this is different from what you see with, for instance, tour players, right? When they're done, their club is sitting essentially parallel to the ground. And I was always wondering why my backswing wouldn't do that, and it's because I'm breaking my wrists so early. Now, if you don't break the wrists and you keep those hands through, then there's nowhere else for you to go but parallel, okay? So, not only will this fix the face being closed and me hitting it on the toe, and in addition to that, I've also been hitting with the iron essentially down angled like this, which made me think that the clubs were too short. This will also allow it to be flat. So keeping my hands forward is going to maintain that initial position when I set up to the ball. So we're now able to take away a lot of those toe hooks, a lot of those closed faces, and we're able to help straighten out our backswing so it looks more proper, which means we're on a good swing path. All right, in addition to all that, another issue I would have is because I was breaking my wrists early, the club is lower than it was at setup. So at setup, this is perfect. Where I set the ball up, that's where my hands need to be at impact. But if I'm like this, the club goes lower. So if I start here, but I release my wrist, it goes down about ½ inch or a centimeter or so. So what that means is I'm going to be chunking the ball every time. And what I've naturally done to counteract that is that impact, I kind of stand up, and sometimes I even go on my tiptoes. And this loses all of my power, all of my impact. It's called early extension. In addition to all of that, another issue I've been having is whenever I'm swinging, I'm not getting my hips to about that 45-degree angle you want whenever you're getting power on the ball. So the hips are like the most powerful part of that swing. So that's why the first movement on your downswing is your left hip coming back to its original position. But at impact, you essentially want to have those hips cleared. So I was losing power on early extension, and I was losing power by not clearing my hips. And all of this is because my wrists would catch up so quickly, I just didn't have time to release my hips. No matter how hard I would turn my hips, that power of just your wrists is so much faster than your hips. So I would come back and boom, just like that. So the swing would look like this. I would come up, square hips, face down, face closed, and then the follow through would go all the way down, pointing to the ground. So what they've been pushing me to do is a very simple drill where essentially I'm getting up to the ball and I'm putting my hands quite a bit forward. I'm only coming back about halfway, and then I start the downswing with my legs, with my hips, and then I'm just trying really hard to keep those hands in front of the ball. So I have what's called shaft lean. So at impact, you want there to be a bit of shaft lean, meaning it's not straight up, it's ahead of the ball. And then to follow through, they're telling me to kind of follow through like Tommy Fleetwood does. So if you're familiar with the golfer Tommy Fleetwood, he had similar issues like this, clearing his hands some years ago and took some time off golf, went back to his childhood golf instructor, and these were kind of some of the drills his golf instructor was giving him, was to truncate his follow through in order to ensure his hands were before the ball. And so he started following through like this, and now if you watch him on tour, all of his iron shots, he still finishes just like in that drill. He doesn't really ever take a full follow through except with his long woods. I've been taking essentially backswing back and then trying my hardest to visualize my hands through it, which forces my hips to come through. If you don't have your hips through, your arms don't really want to do that. You're at full flexion, and there's no real way to keep going. So your hips are kind of necessary to do that in order to have your follow through. And so I'm just simply coming back, through, and then trying to finish with that truncated follow through, and essentially just trying to get it to the ball, put it a little further back in my stance, bring my hands forward, and then I'm just taking a tiny little swing like this, and just doing kind of a chip shot essentially. So my drill has simply been come in and do these until I feel confident and then I'm hitting them kind of flush. Like that one was a pretty flush shot. It felt really good, hit the face well, but we're gonna come again. We're gonna make sure this elbow's tucked, this right shoulder of mine is kind of down a little bit, trying to preload that kind of follow through. And we're gonna just simply come back and go through. So keeping your head directly over the ball, you don't wanna lose your left side. We come back, and we're like so. This leg is pretty often straight, and this one has a bend in it, and then we try to get back to that original position with our first move on the downswing. Hold this angle a little longer until we get there. And again, what I've been doing is I've been releasing it a lot earlier, like this. So I'm essentially straight here, and then at impact, I'm doing this little roll motion. Because in my mind, that's optimizing speed, but it's not. So anyway, enough jibber jabber, that's kind of explaining what I'm doing. So I have a 7-iron in hand. I'm just gonna hit some of those half swings and then try to work into full swings, and we're just gonna work on this together. Now I just want to give one more shout out to all those who have helped so much. I'm very open to critique on the swing. I'm here to try to get as good as possible. So I want to shout out not only Michael Feuerstein, but also to Parket Brandt of Apogee, and also to Tiago Rodrigues, who is a local here in Porto, but played on the tour out here in Europe and has been helping a lot. And also to Nicholas Adank, who is a German pro, and he's also been sending me a lot of tips and lessons. All those people are into coffee as well, which my worlds collide. So anyway, shout out to them for all the help, and let's get this going. I'm putting this almost off my right foot, all right? I'm gonna make sure that club face is square at setup, and I'm pushing my hands forward, all right? So one thing that Tommy Fleetwood says is he likes to ensure that it's his right arm kind of dominating this position, that where he's pushing it forward, making sure his right shoulder comes in a bit, and that sets him up for success. So that's what I'm doing here. My arms are already forward, and when I strike the ball, I essentially want them back in this position. I hit that one thin, but that's kind of the idea. With a follow through that's verging on parallel as we keep going. Tell you what, it is nerve-wracking hitting on camera, especially as I'm trying to instruct, because I'm not an instructor. I just shot 100 in my first video. That being said, I feel very confident I'll break 90 in the next one. But I'm no instructor of golf, but these are all objective lessons. Even if I don't show them on the screen well, what I'm saying are things that come from pros. So we can do this together. Just know that whenever you get a swing fix, it's not going to go perfect right when you implement it. And this is such a big change for me. It can get a bit frustrating, but it's a fun chase. So we're going to try this again. Still a little thin, but my swing motion feels pretty good. The club was pretty much square. It was maybe a little closed, but I hit it on the low grooves. That was a bit more flush, just slightly open. Oh, I hit it on the toe actually. And with this, obviously I'm not worried about distance. I'm doing chip swings. So the distance doesn't matter at all to me. It's whether or not I'm hitting it flush and hitting in the center of the face. Little toey there as well. Got to make sure I get my hips through to swing outwards. That was in the middle. What was the swing path there? Do we have swing path on this?
Right, 1.6.
Oh, 1.6, okay. All right, let's do just a couple more of these and we'll continue on with the drills. A little pull. But essentially, once you start getting these down, then one of them, Tiago recommended I do 4 of these types of swings and then go to a kind of a soft full swing in order to keep working on hands forward. So that's what we'll do. We'll do a couple more of these and we'll go to a full. But I'm still going to keep it very soft. Not going to do like a crazy full swing because this is all very new still. I've only had a little bit of time yesterday hitting like this, and it is very, very different. So let's go ahead and try a little higher swing. I may not go all the way to full. I like to slowly work my way up because getting that feel is a very difficult thing. So let's do just a little higher of a swing. So I notice my follow through is still kind of high. There's something in the swing that I need to do in order to make it a little bit more flat. Okay, I hit that more center of the face. All right, so these are in meters. It's like 120 meter, like 135 or so yards. Just little half swings, nothing intense. All right, maybe we'll bring it up a little bit more here. I hit it chunky. Hit it thin. And I went back to this. That means, oh look, closed face. I went back to my old ways. And it's on a down angle almost. Uh-oh. Let's get back to the short swing. So make sure that hand, I'm gonna really exaggerate the hand forward. That felt better. Okay. Still a little on the toe, which is obviously something I struggle with. Okay, not terrible, but it's on the toe a bit, but the swing wasn't terrible. That was hit well, except on the toe. Man, it felt good though. And again, I'm just doing like a 60% swing, 150 meter carry. I'm not mad at that at all. As we saw, I can hit it, even with the little scoopy swing, 180 yards, like even in the first video I did in here. I could fly at 180 with the 7, but I'm trying to really bring down the power to get this swing in zone. A little pull. And oh, closed face too. All right. Well, just for funsies, let's try to juice one. Even though this isn't going to go well. Nope, chunked it. Woo, I hit the ground hard. I didn't even try to really juice it, I got scared. So that's essentially what I'm working on for now. I have a round I'll be filming on Sunday at another course, which should be really exciting. So this is something I think we can all work on probably, is getting your hands through the ball. That's gonna help you de-loft your clubs. It's gonna help you control your spin. It'll help with early extension. It'll help with all these things, though it is a huge change, at least for me. I don't know where you are in your swing, but this is something that I'm going to be working on like a dog. It is the main thing I really need to get down, is getting those hands through the ball, except don't skull it like that. But anyway, you know what time it is. It's time to make some coffee. So let's get settled down, let's brew a cup of coffee, and let's chill from the miserable changes I'm having to make. All right, let's brew up some coffee today. I've brought some pretty little gadgets with me. This is the Pietro Pro brewing model. So it's a hand grinder with burrs inside that I actually helped design. This is a Hario Swearin, I believe it's called, but it's just kind of it's a V60 that just looks a little fancy and has less contact points. And then I'm brewing up some Esmeralda Geisha. Now, Esmeralda is a farm in Panama, and they were the first to really kind of make Geisha famous. Geisha is a variety of coffee. Similar to with apples, you have multiple varieties. You have Granny Smith, Golden Delicious. In coffee, you also have multiple different varieties that taste very different. So think about taking a Granny Smith and a Red Delicious, take a bite of each. You know the difference. Same thing is happening in coffee, where there are lots of differences between these varieties. In addition to that, there are differences between where they're grown, the terroir. So for instance, you know the difference between like a Florida orange and an orange grown somewhere else. There's a big difference between the environment it is grown inside of. So there's also lots of different areas, elevations, humidities, and things like that that affect the growth of coffee. And so Esmeralda has a farm that has been beneficial to the growth of geishas, and they have become world renowned. So this is a very nice coffee and one that I'm always super delighted to drink. So let's grind this up and brew a little V60 or Swearin or whatever it's called. There we go. All right, we've got the coffee ground up inside the vessel. Let's go ahead and start brewing. Now, I always do a very similar approach to when I brew coffees, especially when it's a V60. I bloom it with about 3 times the weight of the coffee with water. And there's a very scientific and logical reason for this. Coffee absorbs roughly twice its weight in water. And so in order to effectively bloom this, in order to effectively saturate those grounds, I'm pouring 3 times the water. You may say, well, why not 2 times? Well, as you see, lots of liquid is already dropping through. So it's not 100% efficient where water hits it and absorbs it immediately. So I wanna make sure that all those grounds fully saturated, because there's carbon dioxide inside those grounds that need to be ejected. The mechanism of extraction is diffusion, so it's necessary for the carbon dioxide to leave. If we just poured all of our water in at once, it would be largely under-extracted. So after a decent bloom where I'm ensuring that those grounds are saturated, give the water enough time to get inside, to pull out that carbon dioxide, and to get ready for the extraction, then I'm going to approach with my second and final pour, which I tend to do a little bit more aggressively. I come up a little higher so that it gives some nice turbulence down deep in the bed. I just kind of go in little circles. Nothing too intense here. I'm just trying to really flip the bed aggressively until we're at our weight limit. Uh-oh. With this, there's that little... This is weird because it has those gaps between, and one side the filter is drooping a bit, so I had to stop before I hit the final bit. I like using smaller filters, just less paper, but that also means there's an issue like this. So there, we'll go ahead and finish the pour gently, and there we go. Now we just wait for it to all drain through, and we can enjoy the cup. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, brew is now done, so we're just gonna take this. In order to not have any spills, I'm gonna kind of pour like so. Now, if you've never had a geisha, or even more so an Esmeralda geisha, they tend to be very, very floral and tea-like, which a lot of people don't want in their coffee. I, on the other hand, love floral tea-like coffees. I like to abstain from the bitterness, like overt bitterness, and I like to really enjoy the complexities of coffee. So, in fact, rose is like my favorite flavor note in coffee. That's why I got a tattoo of a rose right here. These are all coffee-themed tattoos. So you see the first ever espresso machine that was built for the home from 1948. It was released in 1952 by Achille Gaggia. We've got like a coffee flower here. We've got like a V60 here. This stands for midnight oil, right? The little midnight clock. That's a coffee cherry. We've got Caldi's goat, which is the anecdote of how coffee was discovered. A guy named Caldi was out tending his flock of goats, and they kept coming back erratic, so he followed them and noticed they were eating coffee cherries. We've got the original, the prototype, not the prototype, the precursor to the EK43, which is a very expensive grinder. We've got this, where is it? We got this line here, which was the mark of an espresso machine company called La San Marco. This was from one of their early machines in, I believe, 1903. And then we've got a black mamba wrapped around a cup of black coffee, but that has a bit more different significance, but it's still black coffee. So, big coffee guy, and rose is my favorite. And typically in some of these Esmeralda washed geishas, you can get that. So let's take a sip and see. Sweet white tea. I mean, it's like refined sugar sweet. You've got loads of rose, you have some kind of chamomile, you have a little bit of stone fruit. It is, man, that sounds pretentious and fake, but let me tell you to those who are watching and are do you watch wine people, wine sommeliers, and not even sommeliers, but just if you had a wine, you say it tastes minerally, guess what? You have more chances of being right saying that about coffee than wine, because coffee is about 5 times as complex objectively, chemically, as wine is. You may say, no way, it's not. I've had it. If you're buying supermarket coffee, that stuff isn't. But if you buy high quality, what's called specialty coffee, that only accounts for 6% of the coffee in the world. You have it lightly roasted, similar to a steak. If you have a super nice Japanese Wagyu steak, you're not making it well done, you're going rare to medium rare. Same thing with coffees. When you have a high quality, you want to roast it lightly. Darker roasting companies that sell in supermarkets are buying really low quality coffees and they're burning it so that you don't really tell the difference. Anyway, little side rant out of the way, because I know there are some of you going, oh my God, this is, coffee is an awesome hobby and I love it, and I have a full other YouTube. That's a hot cup right now. That's just about coffee. Anyway. Absolutely delicious. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I've got to actually, when the cameras go off, I got to keep working on that if I'm going to break 90 this weekend, because that is such a massive swing change. I've got to get that muscle memory down. So thank you so much for joining. This is The Coffee Golfer. We drink coffee, we play golf, and hopefully you have a good time. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my other 2 videos. First time I played 18 holes in 15 years. Was just posted, recently. And before that was my first time ever swinging clubs in 15 years. Hadn't played since high school until a couple of weeks ago, and here we are. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And that's it for me today. So I hope that you all play some decent golf. Not too good, but decent golf. And cheers.